This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Caroline Bargout. Two men switched at birth in Arborg are getting an apology at the Manitoba legislature. Premier Wab Kinew's office tells CBC the apology will happen in the House before question period tomorrow. CBC's Alana Cole reports.
Edward Ambrose and Richard Beauvais were born on the same day in 1955. When they went home from the hospital, they were with the wrong families. Now, they didn't know that for decades. The fact that they were switched at birth was only discovered in 2022 after Ambrose's sister did a DNA test. The two men met in person for the first time yesterday. Ambrose spoke with CBC by phone.
The age we are now, there's a lot of years that have been lost and that you'll never get back, eh? But going forward from here, we just need to learn and listen from each other. You tell our stories as how we grew up. There's always bad sides and there's good sides, eh?
Tomorrow, the government will apologize for what happened. Ian Bushy is Manitoba's Municipal and Northern Relations Minister.
I think it's very important that we acknowledge what's been done, and I think to have that engagement with the folks that are affected and to have them come into the People's Building on behalf of the government to be able to have that communication and deliver that apology is imperative, and it's very important for the Premier himself to be able to do that.
Ambrose says the apology is nice, but he'd like to see some kind of compensation for what they've experienced. The lawyer representing the two men says he hopes to work on that with the government. Alana Cole, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A former Winnipeg High School football coach apologized to his victims in court today on the second day of his sentencing hearing. Kelsey McKay pleaded guilty last year to sexually abusing 9 of his players between 2003 and 2016. McKay read a written apology to the victims and their families. The 53-year-old acknowledged his hurt and betrayal will affect the victims for the rest of their lives. The Crown pushed for a 25-year sentence. The defense says that would be excessive and crushing given McKay's age and his guilty plea, which they say is an expression of remorse. They're seeking a sentence of just over 13 years. The judge reserved his decision to a later date. Winnipeg police have charged the parents of a 3-month-old baby with failing to provide the necessaries of life. Police were called to a home on West Grove Way in Charleswood 2 years ago for an unresponsive infant. 3-month-old Layla Mattern Muse was rushed to hospital but died days later. Police now say autopsy and toxicology reports have determined she died from exposure to fentanyl and meth. Layla's parents, 39-year-old Christopher Joseph Mattern and 40-year-old Allison Kimberly Muse, have been charged and were detained in custody. Constable Jason Mikulishin says there were many factors that led to the long delay in filing charges.
We've had to wait for a number of reports to come in, specifically autopsy reports, toxicology reports. Number of interviews had to take place. So again, very involved, and again, acknowledging arrest today pertaining to the parents of the child.
A man accused of killing his 3-month-old son in 2020 testified during his trial today and denied hurting him. 34-year-old Mathieu Moreau has pleaded not guilty to manslaughter and aggravated assault. In court, he held back tears as he described finding his son Maven not breathing properly in his crib and formula coming from his mouth. The infant was rushed to hospital and later died. The Crown alleges Moreau shook the baby because he was frustrated the infant wasn't going to sleep, and then slammed him feet first into the crib, fracturing several bones and causing the head trauma that led to the baby's death. Moreau denied all those allegations. The trial continues on Friday. The issue of social supports for kids in care has been thrust into the spotlight after recent comments by Winnipeg's police chief, Danny Smythe. He expressed concerns that a string of violent and random robberies appear to have been carried out by youth living in group or foster care. CBC's Josh Crabb shows you now how one organization is hoping to address the root causes behind the trauma and hurt that some kids are facing.
In this space here is what they call our culture room. It's a place where youth can find out about their Indigenous identity, learn to drum, and take part in pipe ceremonies. It's part of the Knowles Centre, a nonprofit social services agency that runs a group home, foster care program, and independent living for kids who age out of care. Carol Widrick is the Indigenous Inclusion Coordinator here. She says Indigenous kids in care can struggle with their identity.
Being a youth in care, a child in care, you really have no control over the decisions that are being made in your life. And the dislocation from your people and your family for whatever reasons.
85% of kids at Knowles Centre identify as Indigenous. Knowles Centre offers teachings, practices, and ceremonies. There's also a sweat lodge and healing sessions. Widrick works to reconnect kids in care with their culture and their birth families.
Because that's your base of your identity to build your gifts and your abilities and your purpose in life.
The centre has 2 group homes on campus along Henderson Highway and 4 off-site. 3 to 4 kids live in each home. There's also a school on campus for kids who live in group homes at the centre and for kids across Winnipeg if their schools in the community aren't working for them. CEO Mia Gunther says the organization wants to make sure it's celebrating children's strengths and offering appropriate support. She says it's working towards implementing Bill C-92, which gives jurisdiction to Indigenous communities and families to make care decisions for children.
So when you think of Bill C-92 and supporting families in having a voice and having making sure that the children in care have some agency around who they get to see, who their support system is, and connecting them with families.
As a former foster child and group home resident, Carly Bolio says having Indigenous staff was important.
They opened up doors for our cultural programming that, other staff just could never, right? Because they don't know that, they don't have that experience or that knowledge.
Manitoba's Families Minister Nahanni Fontaine says her top priority is decolonizing child welfare and moving it to where it rightfully belongs.
In our communities, with our leadership and our families and our culture and our nation.
A move that is already underway at this group home. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Winnipeg City Council approved the 2024 budget today, but not everybody is happy about what's in it. As CBC's Cameron McLean reports, one of them is the head of the organization behind Winnipeg's Pride Parade.
Every year, the Winnipeg Pride Parade brings thousands of people downtown. Last year, the festival drew 90,000 people over 2 days at the Forks. The head of Pride says the celebration generated about $1 million for downtown Winnipeg businesses. Pride President Barry Carlinzig came to Council's budget meeting to make that point to City Councillors.
We are the largest festival in the downtown core. We are the second largest festival in this province.
Carlinzig says city fees for the festival have risen significantly in recent years, especially since the pandemic. Before 2020, permit fees added up to about $8,000. Last year, they cost nearly $30,000 to pay to shut down streets, provide police security, and clean up too. Despite that, Carlinzig says Pride and other major events like the Sick Festival received no city funding, while the Santa Claus Parade is set to get $25,000 this year.
All of us bring so much diversity and economic impact to the downtown core. We just want our fair share of what it is. We're helping build downtown businesses. We're helping support the downtown core. We want the city to support us.
At the meeting, Councillor Sherry Rowlands offered a solution. She, along with 2 other downtown councillors, would pay for the parade out of their individual ward budgets. They don't know the final amount yet.
Yeah, Councillor Gilroy, Councillor Santos and I are downtown councillors that absolutely know the impact of Pride. And so together we are going to figure something out with the board.
Winnipeg City Council passed the operating budget with 14 votes in support and 1 against. The capital budget also passed 13-2. Council will be back tomorrow to debate another pressing Winnipeg issue, letting pedestrians cross Portage and Main and closing the underground concourse. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Manitoba's opposition is questioning the family minister's commitment to helping youth in care. While Winnipeg's police chief and the children's advocate were sounding the alarm last week, the minister was at an event in New York City. For more, we're joined by CBC's Ian Fraze. Ian, where has the families minister been?
She was attending the United Nations Status of Women Commission, where she talked about women's rights and gender equity. She posted all about this on her social media accounts. While back in Winnipeg, as we also heard in Josh's story, the police chief was calling out the failures of the child welfare system after some wards were involved in random violence on the streets. PC Families critic Lauren Stone says Fontaine was focused on the wrong priorities.
While she didn't take time to talk to the Free Press about this issue last week, she did have time to make a hype reel of her trip. This minister of social media vanity needs to understand the job she signed up for.
It's unfortunate that the opposition is taking issue with the minister responsible for women and gender equity attending the 68th Annual United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. It's unfortunate that the opposition is taking issue with the fact that as minister I had bilateral meetings.
Fontaine says she was still talking to officials about the recent violence in Winnipeg while she was in New York.
Well, Ian, the PCs want to make some changes to the government bill that would create protest-free zones around abortion clinics. What do they like to see?
Health critic Kathleen Cook wants that protest ban to be expanded. Not only anti-abortion opponents would be prohibited, but any protests outside healthcare facilities, including healthcare workers on strike. Cook says her amendment would have the full support of the Tory caucus.
I think part of what the NDP is trying to do here is create a wedge issue around abortion. If women trying to access reproductive health care deserve the ability to enter an abortion clinic without having to wade through protesters, I believe that same right should be extended to all Manitoba patients.
Fontaine introduced that original bill creating the protest-free zones. She doesn't agree with Cook.
I wonder if they're trying to play to their base, right? Like maybe not outright coming that they support abortion or they're against abortion. Again, I think at the end of the day, this is good legislation.
And finally, the Economic Development Minister was asked today of questions about the pipeline shutdown, which is affecting gas supply. Jamie Moses doesn't believe that issue has anything to do with the recent increase in gas prices. He says the local hike in Manitoba has been mirrored those in other parts of the country. Caroline.
Thanks, Ian. That's CBC's Ian Fraze live in our newsroom. A Nova Scotia truck driver who lost a foot to flesh-eating disease is now suing a Winnipeg doctor. Christopher Miners was diagnosed with necrotizing fasciitis and had his foot amputated in Nova Scotia. But the 54-year-old says that could have been avoided if he had received better care in Winnipeg. Miners stopped at Seven Oaks Hospital during a drive across the country in 2022. He alleges negligence by a doctor at the hospital caused the loss of his right foot. He's suing for damages such as loss of income, cost of care, and loss of homemaking capacity. None of the allegations have been tested in court. Some of our CBC reporters are in the Interlake this month, bringing you stories as part of our series called Communities in Focus. The RM of St. Laurent, an hour northwest of Winnipeg, has a rich linguistic history, but sometimes that diversity has led to the little town being divided by language. Some community members have been working on building bridges through sports. CBC's Emily Brass met some of them on the basketball court.
You're a big guy, you can see the entire court.
Boys on the basketball team in St. Laurent come from two different schools and speak two different languages during practice.
Tous les garçons, c'est comme très très proche. On est tous comme une famille.
We go to different schools, I still think we're very close and good friends with each other.
Older generations say it wasn't always like that. St. Lawrence School is just across the street from École Communautaire Aurel Lemoyne, but some say they often felt separated by language.
I wanted to bridge those differences.
Principal Mélanie Sparks grew up in Saint-Eustache speaking Michif French. She moved to St. Laurent 12 years ago and says something stood out.
Everybody seemed to have been grouped in certain ways in St. Laurent, and so we have the people from the lake, the cottagers, and then we also have the Métis, but there's the Francophone Métis and the English Métis. And then we had people who belonged to the different schools, and so the community seemed very divided.
Sparks worked to make everyone feel welcome at the French school, whatever language they spoke, and says those efforts helped the student body grow 40%. But like the English school, they don't always have enough students for sports teams.
Well, yeah, we're two different school divisions, right?
Crystal Miller-Corshane is also Métis, but grew up speaking English. She used to be principal at St. Lawrence School, and way before that, she was captain of the basketball team.
So it was really important for me to keep that basketball program striving here in St. Laurent. And then I thought it would be really nice just to have everybody included.
Ready? Ball in.
The schools teamed up just a few years ago as Les Loups, or the Wolves, and have already reached provincials twice.
Through the power of sport, a lot of people say groups come together, and obviously they've been doing that with basketball.
The team might not have won a championship yet, but the schools say their collaboration is already a victory. Emily Brass, CBC News, St. Laurent.
And CBC weather specialist Riley Lachuk joins us now to talk weather. First of all, I want to say, why is it not Friday? Second of all, I'd like to say I've had enough of this cold weather.
Yeah, it's wearing on a lot of people. So two things. First of all, it's kind of making up for what we didn't get through the winter months.
True.
But there are some upsides. So there's something in it for everybody.
Okay.
I'll explain.
Okay.
If you're like me, your car's been getting really dirty, and the cold weather, Caroline, good for washing cars.
Yeah, true.
We'll take a look at the car wash forecast because my car kind of looks like this right now, and I want it to look a little bit more like this. Well, you're in luck because we are looking at Thursday and Friday being good car wash days for you, even if you want to add some wax. Saturday, I'm saying fair because we're looking at sunnier conditions, which could mean a little bit of melting, even though temperatures will be a little bit on the cold side, but we could see some of that daytime heating maybe make it a bit sloppy in your neighborhood come the weekend. So there you go. Next couple days. Good to get out and wash your car if yours is getting a little dirty like mine. Mainly sunny skies across Manitoba today. As forecast, a little bit of clouds starting to build its way into the southwest corner of the province. This will give us a slim chance of some flurries through the overnight hours into the day on Thursday for southwestern parts of the province. I started a little bit wider as we look ahead into the next couple of days here. This in Alberta Clipper tracking into North Dakota and into Minnesota will pretty much give Manitoba a miss, but as we get into, say, the afternoon hours tomorrow, we start to see that cloud build in and that band of snow kind of slip along the international border. Slim chance in areas like Melita or Pearson. Pipestone could get some of that flurry activity as we head into the overnight hours Thursday into Friday. Otherwise, not a lot to write home about. Friday starting and continuing to be mainly sunny, save for maybe a few flurries along the Hudson Bay coast. Otherwise, we're looking at a mix of sun and clouds even as we head into the weekend. So pretty calm weather-wise, aside from the temperatures, which are a little bit on the cool side. A little bit breezy still in parts of northern Manitoba today. However, we have seen those winds really drop off as we get through the afternoon hours today. Into Thursday, starting with calm winds for the most part. 15 gusting 30 generally across the north. Churchill could see some gusts, though, up to 40 first thing in the morning. Otherwise, we're looking at winds that have been much calmer than we have seen earlier in the week. So look at temperatures right now. Minus 10 in both Brandon and Winnipeg. These are normal nighttime lows for this time of the year, to put that into perspective. Melita minus 7, Thompson at minus 15 at the moment. Winds northwest 24 with a rising pressure right now. As we look at this area of high pressure that has really been keeping us cold, no sign of it really letting up even as we get into the weekend. We're kind of stuck in this cold air mass even as we get into the middle of next week. So tonight, we're looking at minus 18, west winds at 10 in Winnipeg, minus 12 first thing in the morning, a partly cloudy sky, and minus 4 mainly sunny into the afternoon. Looking at your 5-day forecast, which we're talk about a bit later, as well as this dog walking forecast, Caroline.
I love it. I love it.
My finger hit the wrong button, so we'll get to that a bit later.
I do that all the time. Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
They say it's a good idea to listen to your mother. For Winnipegger Emily Parks, taking her mother's advice helped her build a thriving business and a tightly knit community of older women. Parks' mom said she didn't feel comfortable in big box gyms, so she suggested her daughter start a business that caters to an older crowd. So that's what she did.
Okay, we are going forward. 4 walks, 2 high knees. My name's Emily Parks, and this is 55 Fitness. Ready? Here we go. Walk.
We specialize in group fitness classes and personal training for 55+ women.
2 jumping jacks. Tap or jump.
Mom had the idea, and so she was looking for a gym that she could go to where at the age of a little over 60 that she could fit into.
That's it. Walk. 2.
A gym that would be for a group of women that would all have the same common interests, that they could work out, they could meet for coffee afterwards. They all are going through the same things, being 50+, and we have ladies here at the gym ranging in age from 50 all the way up to 80 years old.
4, 3, 2, and march it out. Woo, good job.
Here at 55 Fitness, we're a small gym, so we have small sizes of classes. We have up to 14 people in a class. So it's really one-on-one training throughout the class.
Just move your feet in a little bit, Jean, there. A little bit smaller. Yeah, there you go.
We really specialize in people that come that has osteoporosis or osteopenia, that have arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis.
So as you come in, it just stays bent. You're staying nice and low.
Specializing in modifications throughout the classes.
Keep going. 4, 3.
The energy is high in the class. They do hooting and hollering. They really bring up the energy level.
Yes, really fast.
You lose bone mass and you lose that bone density and your strength as you age, so you want to keep up that strength training. You are never too late to start exercising.
I've gone to gyms all over Canada, and I have never, ever felt the way I have in this gym. It is just really something for the mind, body, and soul. Everybody wonders where you are if you're not here, how you're doing each day. Yeah, it's really is something, this sense of community here.
I was always busy taking my kids to be fit, and I never did anything for myself, and I thought this was something in my sort of early mid-50s that I could do for me.
Step out, mambo left.
We have about a 25-year spread between the people that I've become friends with and work out with. You have more in common maybe with the people 25 years older than you when you're 50 than 25 years younger.
Remember, it's the upper back doing the work here.
This is an amazing community. I've been here for several years now, 5 years, and I have the best peeps ever. We're a great community, we're a great social group. In fact, for my 80th birthday, this is what my peeps got me, and it says, better to be the oldest in the gym than the youngest in the nursing home.
Looking good.
I think in a gym like this, you feel seen and you feel heard, and that's what we all want, right?
You're almost there.
We all help each other, and sometimes we have to adapt our exercises. If we have a sore back or a sore leg, Emily's great at modifying things for us.
Good, last 10 seconds here, almost there.
Here in Winnipeg, like we're the only gym that really specializes in 55+ for women. And so to be able to keep them active and moving as they age, I feel really proud about that.
And we're gonna slowly come up to finish, coming up 3, heads 2, 1, and you're all done today.
The RCMP is investigating after several subcontractors apparently double or triple billed the federal government for work that they did. That story is coming up after the break. The RCMP has launched an investigation after several subcontractors apparently doubled or triple billed the federal government for work that they did. Today, officials say it cost taxpayers $5 million, and it seems the problem may be widespread. CBC's Kate McKenna reports.
Canada's Minister of Procurement defending a system that allowed subcontractors to bill multiple departments for the same work repeatedly.
Until now, there has not been any sign that this was due to mismanagement within the federal government.
Government officials say an internal review found 3 subcontractors are believed to have double billed 36 government departments between 2018 and 2022 at a cost of $5 million.
This has impacted dozens of departments. The overbilling, therefore, was made in a manner that took advantage of the fact that until recently, when everything was done on paper, until recently it was difficult for departments to coordinate and to share that information.
And there could be more cases coming. A federal government official speaking on background says today's announcement is the first wave of fraudulent billing cases the department has identified, with more expected to be announced in the coming months. This is the latest series of questions about mismanagement in the public service. Last month, the Auditor General found the final cost of the federal ArriveCan app is impossible to determine because of poor government record keeping.
The $60 million Arrive scam is just the tip of the iceberg. We now learn that there are $5 million in additional fraud that has been identified by the Department of Public Procurement.
The situation is obviously unacceptable, which is why authorities are looking into this procurement process. Anyone who took advantage of our COVID response to save Canadian lives should face consequence.
Today, the federal government announced it's looking to tighten its rules and create an office intended to stop fraud in procurement. It's also working to get that $5 million back. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
Protests by angry commercial fishermen have forced the provincial government in Newfoundland and Labrador to postpone the delivery of its budget. Dozens of fish harvesters blocked entrances to the legislative building and jostled with police. A protester and a police officer were taken from the scene by ambulance. The province has obtained a court injunction against the demonstrators to prevent them from blocking entry to the Confederation building. The fishermen are calling on the province to let them sell their catch to outside buyers. Currently, they can only sell inside the province at prices that have been agreed to by their union and the Association of Seafood Producers. The U.S. Secretary of State is back in the Middle East to deal with the war between Israel and Hamas. Antony Blinken arrived in Saudi Arabia today and will travel to Egypt tomorrow. Israel has just been added to his itinerary for Friday. Blinken is trying to restart negotiations for a truce and the release of hostages. Meanwhile, Israel says it has killed more than 50 Hamas gunmen at Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City. It says the battle there is now in its 3rd day. Hamas denies its fighters are present and says all the people killed were civilians. Republicans in the U.S. Congress are refusing to release millions of dollars of security assistance for Haiti. They say they're concerned it can fall into the hands of gangs. A gang leader shown here in the yellow vest has just returned to his neighborhood in Port-au-Prince. He had escaped from prison earlier this month. He says he plans to retake control from another gang and clean it up. Haiti has descended into chaos without proper government in place. Aside from the violence, many people are without food. A new scam has surfaced that targets frustrated air travelers. It involves fraud artists that troll social media, posing as airline customer service representatives. CBC's Brett Ruskin explains.
Imagine that you're trying to catch a flight and it's not going well. There are delays. Perhaps your baggage has been lost. You've tried calling your airline. You've tried going to the help desk. Nothing seems to be working. So last resort, you reach out on social media, and great news. One of the airline's employees reaches out, offers help, says that you deserve compensation for your inconvenience. Their profile picture is the airline's logo. Their description says that they're a supervisor or even a manager for the airline. Airline. They only have a few followers, though, a little bit suspicious. Then they ask you for your booking reference. They ask you for a bit more details, saying that all you need to do is click on a link or download a certain app or visit a certain website, perhaps provide some banking details, and you can have your money sent to you. That is how this scam works. You might think, well, who might be able to be caught up in this type of scam? Here's one of those travelers.
I was social media aware enough to look at their profiles and realize that even though they had the Air Canada logo, they had, saying that they were supervisors, that they didn't have any followers. So that triggered some alarm bells for me. When you have flight cancellations and you have these stressful situations, individuals are just willing to, have anyone help them that they can.
And so in that specific case, the scammers told her that she should be compensated $1,500. All she needed to do to get her money was to download a money exchange app and ask for her funds in Kenyan shillings. Then they'll be transferred and become Canadian dollars. That's when she knew it was a scam and cut off communication with the scammers. Now, what do the airlines think about all of this? Keep in mind, it couldn't affect any airline. Air Canada specifically says that they are looking at, and they have been looking for, these fake accounts, reporting them, flagging them. They take this very seriously. They say anyone should watch for that authentication check mark and to ensure that there's kind of an appropriate number of followers, not just a handful. Brett Ruskin, CBC News, Halifax.
Canada has made the top 20 list of countries considered the most happiest nations. We'll have more on which age groups have a more positive outlook than others. That's after the break. In addition to it being the first full day of spring, it also is World Happiness Day. The latest World Happiness Report puts Canada in the top 20 of happiest nations. That is ahead of the U.S., but behind several Scandinavian countries. And it highlights a growing divide in happiness between younger and older people. CBC's Marianne Demain takes us through it.
Many experts say there is a list of factors contributing to the unhappiness of this younger group, those who are 30 years of age and younger. Things like uncertainty around the economy, the lack of affordable housing, all different factors that are contributing to this feeling of hopelessness and unhappiness compared to those who are older, specifically those who are 60 years of age and older who appear to be much happier. And that's quite a shift from the past 15 years when the younger group were actually happier than those older. One researcher who was also the study editor says some parts of the world, children are already experiencing the equivalent of a midlife crisis. The U.S. Surgeon General also likened social media use in youth to the equivalent of having children in cars that have no safety features and driving on roads with no speed limits, because social media, according to experts, is also a contributing factor to just why this younger group is feeling increasingly unhappy right now. Here's more on what keeps people happy.
I'd consider myself a happy person, even though stressed with school and stuff. I still feel grateful for breathing every day and just waking up and exploring and going out with my friends.
I focus on meaning and purpose over happiness. I find happiness and sadness is kind of a sliding scale. They're always going to be temporary.
I spend my time with people that also make me feel really happy and encourage them to do the same.
The World Happiness Report looked at how happy people were in more than 140 countries around the world over the past 3 years. And many say that looking at this younger group who appear to be increasingly unhappy should highlight the need for immediate action when it comes to policy.
So wealth is one thing, but then there's also a healthy life expectancy, which is also very high in Scandinavian countries, whereas in other wealthy countries like the United States, life expectancy is actually going down for certain segments of the population. And then finally, something that where the Scandinavian countries really stand out, we find, is in terms of the social fabric, social capital of their society.
For the 7th year in a row, Finland is the #1 country for happiness, in part thanks to low corruption and free health care. It was followed by Denmark and Iceland. Canada is ranked at number 15, the U.S. at 23. Important to note that none of the world's largest countries were ranked among the happiest. Marianne Demain, CBC News, Toronto.
CBC weather specialist Riley Lachuk, Mr. Happy, is here joining us now.
Because it's always a delight to have you here, Caroline.
Oh, you're so full of it, but but I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, I don't know. You might not be happy first thing in the morning with the temperatures
I'm
we're going to see.
never happy, so really.
Especially when you're out walking your doggy.
My little doggo.
Let's take a look at your dog walking forecast for tomorrow. I know that you really love this, Caroline.
I do. Oh, that's my baby. Look at my little boy. That's Oliver.
This is Caroline's Ollie. That I snuck into the show just for you.
Thank you. Now I'm happy.
Waking up to -12 tomorrow morning in Winnipeg. Partly sunny skies for the morning tomorrow. We'll see clouds start to depart to more sunny conditions by the time we reach the afternoon, and -4. I'll show you the 5-day forecast now because I know I skipped it earlier and I do want to show you what's on that. So -6 for your Friday, and then we're around -5 for the weekend with some afternoon flurries rolling in for Monday, which I'll talk about in your 7-day forecast. Looking now at daytime highs from today, around -10 across southern Manitoba. In comparison, I mentioned this earlier, this is more like an evening overnight low temperature for us here in Manitoba. So colder than seasonal, and this is the kind of weather that we're going to be seeing for the next few days yet. Churchill only getting up to -25. This afternoon. So a bit of a brisk one across the province today. Here's where we're sitting at as we get through the supper hour here. -10 for both Winnipeg and Selkirk and at the Forks. Thought we could hit -9 today downtown. Didn't quite get there through the afternoon hours, but we did get to -9 in Portage, -14 in Barons River this afternoon. And -25 is as good as you got through the Churchill region. -20 in Gillam right now. minus 13 for both Norway House and Flin Flon. So looking at your forecast tonight, a little bit of cloud cover. We'll start to see this pushing out as we get through the overnight hours tonight. So we're looking at lows around minus 18 in the capital region tonight, minus 13 in Port Digital Prairie, and a bit cooler back to the west, minus 17s for both Brandon and Verdun, close to minus 30, I'll say, for northern Manitoba through the night tonight. Looking at your hour by hour for tomorrow, starting the morning off at minus 30 in Shamattawa. Real cold start to the morning across much of northern Manitoba with those clear skies. By noon, we see temperatures rising once again to about minus 13, minus 14 through Grand Rapids, the Pas and Barons River, minus 21 by the time we reach noon in Thompson to a high of minus 17 degrees. In southern Manitoba, we start with mainly clear sky, a little bit of cloud through southwestern Manitoba as that Alberta Clipper passes. We warm up to about minus 10 by the time we reach the noon hour in Westman, about minus 9 through the Red River Valley. We see temperatures warming up once again. Caroline, minus single digits across southern Manitoba, minus 4 for Winnipeg, minus 6s and minus 8s into northwestern Ontario. Your 7 days. It's coming up.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
A Winnipeg woman has started a petition after a horrible experience at the Grace Hospital. We'll have her story after the break. A Winnipeg woman is trying to stay positive after a horrible experience at Grace Hospital. Shauna Forrester Smith is 41 years old and currently lives in the chronic care unit at Deer Lodge Centre. In 2009, she was diagnosed with gastroparesis and intestinal pseudo-obstruction. It meant vomiting, multiple surgeries, infertility, and tube feeding. Her health condition requires her to take multiple trips to the hospital, but a recent experience at the Grace has her raising concerns about the care she received. And now she's calling on changes to the healthcare system. Shauna, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You went to Grace Hospital on March 2nd. Can you tell us what happened that day?
March 2nd, I was at Deer Lodge. I started getting progressively ill as the day went on. I was going septic. By about 2 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning, my blood pressure was dropping dangerously low. I was starting to go into shock. So the decision was made to transfer me to the Grace Hospital because it was no longer safe for me to be cared for at Deer Lodge. So I was taken by ambulance to the Grace, and what I experienced was awful.
Can you talk a little bit about that, what your experience was like?
Yeah, I have been a frequent flyer of the emergency room for over 15 years, and I've never experienced anything like that. Just the workloads of the staff were untenable and unsafe. They were unable to provide competent and basic care. People had way more patients than what was safe or manageable. I was admitted, but there was no bed available. They had no idea when there was going to be a bed available. It was also becoming problematic for me from a treatment perspective, not being able to get a bed, because I rely on intravenous nutrition. I'm unable to eat. Well, they can't do that in the ER. They can only do that on the ward. So I wasn't able to get any nutrition. So I'm fighting a life-threatening infection. I'm not able to get nutrition. I have no idea when I'm going to be able to get nutrition. So eventually, the attending physician and I just decided that even though we didn't even have my blood culture results back, it was probably in my best interest to send me back to Deer Lodge. I don't blame the staff, and I'm not upset with the staff. And I wasn't upset with the staff because it's not their fault. They're trying the best that they can. They're doing the best that they can. The workloads and the working conditions are just terrible and unmanageable and unsafe. And that's why I started this petition.
Can you talk a little bit about that? We only have about 30 seconds left, but I really want to hear about this petition and what you're hoping to accomplish.
The petition is for the government, shared health, and the WRHA. And what I'm asking for is them to address the issues with excessive wait times, to fix the issues with access block, which is patients admitted but with no bed to go to, and to fix the 3 issues pertaining to staff, which include morale and working conditions, workloads, and then addressing the staffing shortages in the ER and issues with retention. If they don't fix those things, it's just going to get worse, and we're going to see wait times get even worse, and more people being harmed and more people dying, because 3 people have already died because of the conditions of our ERs in the past year, and that shouldn't happen.
Shauna, thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm really sorry that you had to go through that, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
A spokesperson for the Winnipeg Regional Health Authority said it's looking to expand staffing at Winnipeg hospitals, as well as working to add 36 additional acute care beds at St. Boniface Hospital and 31 new beds at the Grace. Still ahead, Riley Leitchuk is back with your 7-day forecast. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News.
Here's a look at your date planner now for your Thursday. A chilly start to the morning across Manitoba. -12 first thing in the morning in Winnipeg. Winds west 10 first thing in the morning, becoming northwest 10 as we head into the noon hour. -9 in the noon hour and -4 by the time we reach the later afternoon hours. -6, a mainly sunny sky on the way for Friday. Sunshine -4 for Saturday. We start to see a little bit of cloud and some wind building in for Sunday and Monday with some flurries moving through in the afternoon Monday through the morning Tuesday, clearing, and -2 for Wednesday. Well, Caroline, what's old is new again, especially when it comes to a dance craze that is growing in popularity.
But this time around, there's an unexpected influence. Queen Bee. Aaron Potty takes us to Cape Breton for tonight's Daily Lift.
Christine Filipowicz says the key to learning line dancing is knowing some basic moves and adding steps along the way. A dance instructor for 15 years, Filipowicz started teaching line dancing in Cape Breton after moving to the island a couple of years ago.
People just really love to participate in something that is fun and is to dance, and line dancing is a lot like building blocks. You learn a little bit something new each week.
Several line dancing instructors are now holding classes in Cape Breton communities, from Cape North to Glace Bay. Filipowicz says one of her classes has grown to more than 30 students. And she says someone is heavily influencing the trend.
This ain't Texas, ain't no hold'em.
Beyonce just came out with a new country album a few weeks ago that is just tearing up the world, especially on TikTok.
As part of an online craze, people are recording their own dances to Texas Hold'em on TikTok. Among them is Brianna Dethridge of Sydney. She started taking Filipowicz's classes a year ago.
Over the past month, her classes, Christine's classes, have grown like exponentially. Like there used to sometimes only be 6 of us here, and then in the past maybe like 4 or 5 weeks, it's a full room. So we're super happy about that.
Dethridge is also happy to see artists like Beyonce tipping their hat to country music.
I love it. I mean, so many different artists branch out to different genres. I think it's interesting. I really like it.
The resurgence of the dance has been a long time coming for Filipowicz, who first started line dancing more than 30 years ago. She's since performed at weddings, festivals, and birthday parties.
When we moved to Cape Breton, I looked for some avenues to start doing that here. It's a great activity, but it also really helps me stay active and do something I really love.
Line dancers throughout Cape Breton say they're excited to see more people drawn to the activity because they say it's not only fun, it's a good way to spend time with friends. Erin Potty, CBC News, Sydney.
See, I feel like you could be good at that, Caroline.
I feel like I could too.
It's kind of bust a move for us.
I want you to show me how to do it though. Like, because Riley
you
said
can't
that
see
he
me
could
from the
line
legs
dance.
down,
No,
but-
that's true. Well, do it with your hands.
It's my hands on the desk.
So I know. Can you show us a move for real?
Well, I don't know. I can't stand up. There's not enough room to stand up here.
do it.
Do a little jig for you,
See,
Caroline.
you can totally do it. You don't want me to try
Yeah.
that, but that was a really good.
I thought you were going to get up with me too.
I was going to get up with you, but then I changed my mind. We'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.